Welcome everybody to the Red Stars post-match press conference. We have Alyssa Naeher and Coach Petrucelli here with us. Does anybody have a question that wants to kick us off?
Kicked it off last week. I can go first. So, thanks you guys for your time. Coach, maybe starting with you, can you talk a little bit about what you saw from Gotham in the first 25 minutes of the game and then the adjustments that you guys made in the second half?
I just felt like we were stuck deep in our end. We couldn't get enough pressure up the field, and they were able to keep the ball a little bit, pass the ball a little bit. I just had us pinned in for a good bit, so we adjusted a little bit, tried to get a little more pressure up the field, and I think it worked. But we just couldn't. We came close, but we just couldn't get that second one.
There's quite a bit of rotation in the midfield today. Do you think that had an effect maybe on sort of cohesion early on?
Yeah. We've not been able to really put out a consistent lineup, especially in those midfield spots. So yeah, that's a factor. Yes.
And then for you, Alyssa, what is that process of problem solving throughout a game? They come out, really high press, they're pressing you guys, they're getting you pinned in. What are those conversations that you're having to try to stretch things out and move the ball forward?
I think for us, it's just finding a little bit more consistency. I think we knew they were going to come out and press. We knew that obviously they have a lot of speed up front, and that's part of the game plan. And so we expected that, and we had a plan to kind of try to beat that press. And I think we had some really good moments when we were able to do it, and then we need to be a little bit cleaner, in other moments as well. So I think being able to find that consistency, and that message from us is just, we need to focus on our identity and how we want to play. Obviously there's always going to be adjustments based on personnel, who you're playing, formations, and tactically. But for us, it's trying to solidify an identity and more of our own style of play. And then I think that's where we just need to find a little bit more consistency.
Does it feel like that identity has been more difficult to grab onto this season?
I think maybe a little bit. I think we've got obviously, we've got some new players coming in. We've got players coming back in. We've got still some players that have been here for a bit. So it's trying to find that, that mix of who the Red Stars always have been, and finding that grit, finding that, that resiliency, and also finding a little bit of new as well. A lot of new players, and trying to incorporate their strengths and how can we play to our strengths as a team.
Speaking of new faces, Hawking at one point in the game looked to take a pretty tough collision there. You're one of the first players to check in and how she feeling after the match, and Alyssa to sort of elaborate on it. I remember in the preseason media day asking you about maybe some of the rookies, and you referred to them as surprises. Is Hawking, Hawking can be one of those players that have really kind of come out for you this season?
Yeah, I think for sure, absolutely. I mean, she impressed in the preseason as well, and definitely didn't want to tip our hat to that going into San Diego game. But no, I think she's come in, she's been good. She's a high level player. And I think with any young player, she just needs to be able to find a little bit of that consistency as well. She has some brilliant moments on the field, and now, it's how do we get that out of her all the time? And that's not just her. That's me. That starts from veterans as well. But I think that's always the challenge: is can you bring your special talents and your special abilities and the ability to change a game? Because I think that's one of her biggest attributes, is she has the ability to, especially the Kansas City game, you saw the finishes that she had there. So I think being able to, build through her and kind of have her find her way a little bit more. But she's been great. I think Ali Schlegel's another one who's stepped up, and especially the last few games has been impactful coming in off the bench or starting last week. So we have some players there, and we just got to keep grinding through it, keep working through it day by day.
So the update was like a shot to the breadbasket, or just kind of?
I think it was more like a rib kind of thing, but she's fine. I mean, she was a little sore, but I don't think it will be anything long term.
and maybe, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. Go ahead.
I was gonna say
it,
maybe
Joe.
like talking about a newer player, but Yuki's 100th appearance, and you've been a teammate of her for a long time in other countries as well.
Mhm.
Maybe speaking to her as celebrating that tonight and sort of her role in the team this year, maybe taking a little bit of a new position on essentially in this season, and that's been like kind of playing with her.
Yeah, I mean, Yuki is the ultimate professional. You know, she is she's one of the best teammates I've ever had. I've been fortunate enough to play with her, you know, for a couple years in Germany, and now been part of most of those 100 games here, minus obviously the little bit of time that she spent in Louisville. But, you know, she's somebody that she's 35 going on 15 sometimes. And I think in a positive way, I think she brings that youthful excitement and passion for the game still, which is incredible. You know, every single day she's the first one on the field. She's the last person to leave. She takes care of herself. She takes care of her body, which has allowed her to keep playing for well into her 30s. And, you know, she's somebody that it's been certainly a privilege to play with her for so long. And I don't have enough good things to say about Yuki. She's one of the best.
Joe.
Chris, I was wondering, and thank you both for the time as always. It seems like Tatum started on the right, and then after that break at 25, you shifted her over to the left side. I'm curious what your thought process was starting her on the right and then making that.
Yeah, I think when we just made some adjustments and you know, Casey and Tatum and Aaron all can play, you know, on the right or on the left. And I pretty much give them freedom, you know, to decide, you know, what exactly where everyone's going to go. So as we started to make some of those changes, Casey and Tatum sort of worked it out, you know, on their own. And I like it when they're able to do that. You know, I like it when they take ownership and leadership and they step up, and thought they worked it out, you know, pretty well.
And then Alyssa, if I may, with the 2 goals kind of coming from mistakes, is there a way as a team? I saw Chris, did you come out at halftime a little bit before the team? It looked like the coaches were out. I'm just curious about the mentality going into the second half, and from both of you, what the message was going into the second half.
You know, the message was we gotta come out and we gotta dig deep. You know, these kinds of games are obviously, it's very disappointing, and to give up a goal at the you know, the end of a half anytime. You know, I think obviously the goals were a bit unfortunate, but those things happen. And you gotta just move on to the next thing, and no time to hang your hat. And the message at halftime is it's time to dig deep. This is, you know, these are games that, you know, build character, kind of show a little bit of that identity that we were talking about before. And, you know, I was pleased with the mentality more so in the second half. I think to come out, get the goal, and we were close to getting another one. And I think we need to be able to replicate that for, you know, the full 90 minutes and not wait till we're down a couple goals and a little bit disappointed, to bring that a bit more of that bite, a little bit more of that energy.
Yeah, there were no tactics discussed at halftime. Let's put it that way.
Leslie.
What was working well between you and Casey Kruger? It seemed like you had a good workflow going today.
Yeah, I mean, Casey is, we've played together for a long time, so there's that chemistry, that there's that understanding of, you know, I know her tendencies, I know kind of what, when you play with someone long enough, you kind of know what they're going to do before they do it, which is helpful in terms of either positioning or, you know, for me, like, do I have to come out and step to this, or is she going to come and close it? And, you know, all those things, that chemistry is built over time. And I think Casey's one of the best defenders in the league. And I think, you know, it just is, you know, from a product of playing together for as long as we have.
Does it feel like a bit of consistency in a season where there has really been too much to speak of?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think you know, I've been to see Casey come back from, you know, after pregnancy and, you know, I have so much respect for any mom that comes back after, you know, having a baby and to watch her coming back in and the time that she's put in and the, you know, taking care of the baby and bringing Caleb on the road and everything else. And to see her, you know, step right back into the player that she was before, if not even elevated. And I think you know, sky's the limit for what Casey has the ability to do and just keep putting her in those situations. And there's nobody else I'd want 1v1 defending than Casey Kruger, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's 3 games that you play in this 8 days that has the players a little tired or soft because you have, you know, players that were injured at midweek, and the other team also played the Challenge Cup, but they probably didn't use the lineup they always have. But you say you use rotation for this game, so I want to talk about it, how the players feel like.
Well, yeah, some of them are very tired. You know, we actually planned on rotating a lot more in the midweek game, but circumstances, you know, this was some different circumstances. We couldn't do it. So I think some players played a little more than I wanted to over the course of these 8 days. But then again, they wanted to play. You know, they were pushing to play. But yes, it's a tough week. You know, it's a tough week for us in many ways, and we clearly lacked a little energy when we came out to start the game. I was very happy with our response at halftime, but we did lack a little bite to us in the beginning of the game.
Any other questions?
I actually have one more for you, Alyssa, just because you've played in that goal as much as anybody. That south pole, when the wind is whipping like that and the sun is going down, is that all 3 goals tonight were scored in that south pole? Is that a particularly difficult, just in terms of sight lines and the way the ball moves? Is that a difficult goal to stand in?
Yes.
No other questions, we'll call it there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.